It's easy to hear your favorite artist on WFPK from wherever you are. Listen on your smart speaker, live stream from our website at WFPK.org from Louisville Public Media.
Consequence Podcast Network.
Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with audio interview series presented by WFPK Independent Louisville at WFPK.org. Consequence of Sounds and the Consequence Podcast Network. I'd like to say hello to all the subscribers. Thanks for checking out the series every single week. And we release a lot around here, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, a brand new episode. There's a lot to keep up with, but it's a great way to keep up with your favorite artists. So thanks for checking out all the episodes. And if you haven't already, please do give the series a rating wherever you're listening from. If you can, leave a review, or if you're checking out somewhere else where there's just a comment box, just say hi, what you liked about the interview, anything like that. And if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button right now. What are you waiting for? As I said, there's a lot to keep up with. Let us do the work for you and deliver it right to your listening device with every new episode. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'm going to be talking to a different Kyle today, Kyle Gruninger. Kyle is part of the theater show We Will Rock You, which uses the music of Queen to tell its own original story. It was one of the very first jukebox musicals, making its debut in 2002, and has since got an overhaul, an update on the script, on the music, and we're going to be talking all about that, as well as his role as one of the pair of bad guys. He plays Khashoggi, a great deep reference if you are a Queen fanatic. We'll hear about how he prepared for it, how he makes it his own, and how the entire story speaks to the current era. It said a lot when it came out, and Kyle will tell us that he thinks that it says even more in 2019. We'll also hear about his own connection and history with Queen's music and his music, as both part of the band Incura, which have released a pair of singles this year, and as a solo artist. In August, he released a solo EP called Picture Perfect. So Kyle's going to tell us about the tracks on that, connections with the band Our Lady Peace, and a whole lot more. It's a really fun one. Check this out. Talking about We Will Rock You, it's Kyle Meredith with Kyle Gruninger.
Hi, this is Kyle from We Will Rock You, just calling.
We got a few things to talk about. Let's start with the most recent. You're going to be coming through Louisville and everything, next door to the Louisville Palace, part of the We Will Rock You live show. And maybe we should just start with that, because for people that don't know, at this point in the lineage of Queen, it can be a little bit confusing. This isn't the biopic, right? This is something that's been going on for almost 20 years now.
That's very true. This is not the movie. This is live theater. It's just a little crazy. So there is its own storyline and everything else with it. But like I said, the focus of everything is Queen music. So that's what's really important.
And for those who have seen it in the past, what's really interesting is that this is kind of a new experience, right? Because this has been reworked and updated?
Very much so, yeah. So the original was actually wrote in 2003 and kind of performed. It did come through North America about 2013. But what we did is Queen's musical director, Stuart Morley, flew in to work with us and revamp and redo all the music. What they have done is just kind of re-queened it. They went to the studio, listened to old Freddie vocals, Brian and Roger and everybody got together, and they just wanted to make it more Queen. So we are the first ones to be redoing this kind of new version of it with a whole new kind of vocal underscore and different, cuts throughout the play as well.
Yeah, I love that you've made queened a verb at this point, re-queened it.
Re-queened it. That's what they say. That's what they say.
I don't know how much of the storyline you do want to give away, how much you talk about, but could you explain a little bit what they're going to get into here, as it isn't, again, the biopic. This is an original story.
So really, it comes down to it is a distant future. And music has been made illegal by the evil killer queen and Commander Khashoggi. There is a group of bohemians who are trying to bring back what they think is real music, or find the dreamer and rock and roll. So Galileo Figaro is one of those bohemians that he doesn't know it yet, but he is the dreamer. So
and Khashoggi, you mentioned that's your role, right?
It is. That is me. I am the evil commander.
Now, the title, I mean, if you're a Queen fan, you will know it's a deep cut, but you'll know exactly where that comes from, because Khashoggi's ship is the song. Is that part of it, or is it a part of this musical, or is that only the reference?
You're actually one of the first people to get it, and I'm very impressed. I'm actually happy with that. So, yeah, Khashoggi Ship is a song on the Magic record that is one of my faves. But the character is kind of just based upon, if you know the song at all, but the character is definitely based around the kind of person, but it is a little bit different. I'm scary, I'm evil, I am not an arms dealer. But yeah, the original Khashoggi, of course, was that, and Khashoggi Ship was a very popular ship for a long time, so that's great.
I mean, if you're gonna pick a villain out, at least you've got one that's actually based on this real bad guy.
Exactly. I did all the research on Khashoggi before just to kind of see why they would even and what the ship was. So you listen to the song, you really read into it. It's quite an interesting history and continues to be interesting to this day, to who the ship was sold to where it is now, and all the things. So definitely people should look into it.
When this came out, when it first came out in the early 2000s, it was speaking to a lot of things about privacy and well, just a lot of things. But how does it speak to the current era?
Now, the scary thing is the show has only became more real as the future has gotten closer to, as we keep going into the future, I should say. Yes, at first the place was actually called Planet Mall, because you have to remember in 2003 there was no such thing as an iPhone.
Right.
There was no such thing as any of that. So, they were talking about malls and the global mall, where today they've changed it to called the iPlanet, where even through choreography we have things like just everything is more cell phone based, everything is more screen based. Real music is starting to go, and everything's kind of made by computers and things now, where whatever happened to the real musical instruments and things like that. So the cool thing about it is it's actually speaking more as the future goes on and as technology starts to really run our planet.
Even in the music news of the past few months, we have AI-generated music now going to Spotify.
Exactly. And that's exactly what the show is about, is they have their own music that Killer Queen produces, but it is all produced for money in the Global Soft Corporation. But the Bohemians are looking to change that.
I'll go back to your character specifically. When you've had something like this that's been played by several people throughout the years, that sort of does have its roots in the Queen, legacy and discography, is there a challenge to making something so familiar your own, to have your own stamp there?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's always a little bit daunting looking back and seeing the amazing actors and things who have played and sang the roles that each of us play. Really, for myself personally, I just really stepped into the character and wanted to find pieces that made it me. The great thing about this production, it is so new and so updated that my costume alone creates my character for me.
Really? How is that?
So, the costuming in the show is unreal. It's so wonderful. I have one of the most, I would say, standout costumes in the show. So as soon as I really put that on and kind of found what I wanted, I put the sunglasses on and all the things that make me me, it became a little easier. I became that Khashoggi character. We have someone like Stuart Morley come in there vocally and really talk to us about the intentions of the songs and the intentions of the vocal lines and how we present them in the specific way. There was a lot of time and effort made to make sure that this stays true to the band and true to the story as well that Ben Elton wrote. So there's a lot of that comes into it.
Is Seven Seas of Rhye, that's one of your big moments, right?
That is my moment. That is my moment, I like to say.
And that's not one of the obvious songs. Like, when I originally saw the track listing, again, that's one of those. I'm like, oh, good. This it goes deeper because you get the hits, but you all take that moment to go into the deeper catalog.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, as soon as something like, say, Another One Bites the Dust or Fat Bottom Girls comes up, the audience will start to cheer and stand up before the song even, the first chord hits and they jump up. Seven Seas hits and they have no idea what's going on a lot of the time. And during that scene, it's a lot of big visual scene. I'm torturing a lot of Bohemians during that scene. But it's one of my favorite moments just because you see people get to experience maybe songs they don't know by Queen, which is something that's kind of unheard of.
Yeah, right. And this being one of the first productions that sort of ever did something like this, back in the early 2000s, taking an artist's catalog. And a lot of times you have to mess with the songs to make them more theatrical, but you all don't, right? I mean, Queen's music is naturally theatrical.
Very much so. There are a few little things that they've done. Like there's a few lyric changes that, as a huge Queen fan would always kind of throw me off, but those lyric changes are for the story. So it's fun to all of a sudden listen to a song and instead of naturally they say virtually, things like that, which would, just to update it and make it kind of different.
And I'm sure this is an obvious question that you get, but what is your history with Queen? I mean, do you remember those first early moments of hearing their music?
Of course I do. I got into Queen a little later in life. More when I was about 18, 19, I got into Queen. And of course, I remember the first time I heard them. I remember the first putting in a night at the opera, and someone offered me to play the song called Prophet Song, which is a long, convoluted, crazy vocal song with a whole bunch of vocal layers and quadraphonic speakers. And I just sat in the vehicle with my jaw wide listening. And from that moment forward, I was a Freddie Mercury to Queen fan.
And you've just released 2 records this year, right? One with your band, Incura. Am I saying that right? Incura?
You are.
Then you've just released a solo EP as well in August called Picture Perfect. And again, maybe it's the obvious question, but do you find that there's a crossover with the work you're doing in We Will Rock You and the music that you're now making with your own projects?
Definitely. Living in the theater space every day, living surrounded by theatrical music, and getting to work alongside a lot of the people in the Queen camp has made a huge influence on me. I've always been kind of a theatrical kid, but when you're submerged in it and there's no getting out, it definitely starts to affect your writing. So my EP and everything like that is very Queen-esque, we'll say. So there's a little bit of heavy metal in there too.
Yeah. When I was first listening to the Picture Perfect EP, one of my first thoughts, I am a very big Our Lady Peace fan, and I started thinking like, hey, I sort of hear that in there. But you've worked with people in their camp. Do I have that right?
You do have that right. So Our Lady Peace, really huge influence of mine. The manager of that band is also my manager.
Okay.
And Arnold Lanny, who wrote those first 4 Our Lady Peace records, were wrote by a guy named Arnold Lanny, who's from the band Sheriff and a lot of other things that he put together. But he co-writes a lot with me as well, and I've worked with him musically for a long time. So when you say it sounds like Our Lady Peace, it really sounds like Arnold Lanny.
Gotcha. Interesting. I never knew that. Yeah, I never knew where that came from.
Yeah.
I will say, whereas you have the celebratory side of Queen, even just looking from the titles here, Help Me Save Myself Tonight, Abandon Me, this seems like it's maybe the darker side of it all.
For sure. Me personally, when it comes to art and creating music and lyrics and things like that, I'm more inspired by tragedy, a lot of things like that. More because I use music as an outlet for my own demons that I fight on the road or that I have to deal with. So that's kind of where my music takes a turn. I can sing the Queen songs, I can be on stage, and it's a lot of happiness, but to really fulfill that need, I need to write what's in my soul, and that's where those songs come from.
Yeah. And then backing up the pair of Incura tracks that came out this year with Remodel and Living a Lie, 2 singles, does that lead to something else? Are you guys working on the full length, or are we just kind of tossing out the songs right now?
Yeah, so that's kind of the plan as of right now, is to kind of keep putting singles out. I do have a few Incura songs I haven't released yet, and stuff I'm working on myself. So it's kind of just juggling when to release everything and how to do it while I'm on the road doing this as well. So it's the industry, we'll say that.
Yeah. What has that been like? I mean, do you come straight off of one project and have to go straight into the other one?
I do. A lot of the time I have maybe a week or a few days off in between things, but there's really no downtime, especially being an artist and trying to survive and feed yourself in the world of today. You just kind of go from job to job and constantly live on the road or in the studio.
It's a maddening way, but it comes out in some great art. You're making some great art right now. I certainly appreciate that. Yeah, and I'll say again, we're really excited to kind of see you in this Khashoggi role, to see the entire production of We Will Rock You at the Louisville Palace.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be quite entertaining. Like I said, it's very, very different from anything people have seen before. So the lighting, the costuming, the production, the screens, it's just mind-blowing. So I just really hope everybody gets out and catches it. It's going to be great.
Awesome. Kyle, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll see you soon.
Of course, all the time. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for chatting about the EP and Incura and my band. I really appreciate that too.
Absolutely, man. All right, take care.
Okay, have a good day.
And my thanks to Kyle Gruninger. Again, We Will Rock You, touring all around the country and with productions really all around the world. And his solo EP, Picture Perfect, that's out now, as well as those pair of tracks from his band Incura. You can find those at all streaming services as well. And thanks to you for checking out the episode. Before you get out of here, if you're not a subscriber, I hope you do hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening from right now. Just grab your listening device, You can grab us at iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, Acast, Stitcher, and YouTube if you end up over there a bit more. And if you're already a subscriber, leave us a comment in the comment box or a review of the series. A rating is always a huge help. After that, head to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews. That's WFPK.org. Consequence of Sound has your music and film news. You can also find me at Twitter at Kyle Meredith, Facebook/Kyle Meredith. And that does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.
Consequence Podcast Network.